Annyeonghaseyo, welcome back to the Goju Karate Center. I know these reactions are late, story of my life. It's been holidays, which means kids are at home, which means less editing time. Before I get into episodes 5 and 6, I did see that applications are open for an all-ladies season, so that's very, very cool. I'm so glad that the calls were heard. I looked at the application form. I think it'll be very interesting to see who applies. A part of me is tempted to apply just because I think it would be so much fun, for the adventure of going to another country and training and fighting with other women and making those contacts and connections and building those memories. And another part of me is like, if you make a tit of yourself, it's all over the internet. And I don't want to embarrass my students back home. So, yeah. But I'd love to see multiple disciplines. I'm sure we will. And I'm looking forward to that. I don't know when it will be released, but when it happens, I'll be the first to watch and hopefully react on time this time. Right, episode 5, Shank Tank. I realized it's actually just quicker and easier for me just to react off my phone like Uncle Roger rather than setting up my whole laptop and actually getting the recording done.
I locked 8 martial arts experts in a cage with a knife attacker.
I must say that the Shank Tank in the previous episodes was definitely my favorite challenge. It's also one of the worst nightmares is knives. Knives don't run out of ammo. They're very easy to get. I know knife crime is a massive problem. It's a growing problem around the world. I have a student who immigrated to the UK. Hi, Joshua. And he was telling me that in Tesco, they have a picture of a knife where the knife should be. And then you can take that picture to the counter. And if you are over 18, you may buy the knife.
With a knife are the worst. I would honestly prefer to face a gun instead of a knife.
One of the things you have to hope for is that the person with the knife is either intoxicated or an amateur. And you better hope they're not trained, because some people get a little bit too comfortable with the knife. I'd like to share some medical journal stats that I found. And I think these numbers are very interesting, and it talks about where people get stabbed. So I found a medical journal for South Africa for one trauma center over the course of 6 years. And I know it's not a fully comprehensive study, but for the sake of a YouTube video and a 5-minute segment, I think it'll be okay. So in this, from January 2013 to December 2018, there were 2,117 patients. And then because of the way that it's recorded on the system, we actually know exactly where they were attacked. So the head, 445 patients. The neck, 572 patients. The face, 258. Then the chest, 939 of the patients presented with chest. Then the abdomen, 649. Pelvic area, 49. Upper limbs, 418. Defensive wounds, lower limb, 105. Now that tells us exactly where you should defend. The neck is a little bit terrifying. And you'll see across all the knife defense scenarios, the attackers and the defenders always go for the neck. As humans, we know that this is incredibly vulnerable, bleeds easy. Of all of these patients, 37% of them required surgery. The mortality rate was 2.3%. It works out to 49 of the 2,117 patients. And over the course of that time, it works out to about 9 or 10 a year. Now, obviously, we don't know how many died before they could get to the hospital. That's a whole nother statistic. I think it would be difficult to find those numbers. But I do find it interesting that people were attacked in the neck and survived, in the face, in the head. That being said, we are also talking about possible lifelong injuries, especially if it was bad enough to need surgery. The trachea is damaged, if your stomach, one of the worst case scenarios in first aid is bowel evisceration. And sometimes people have to live with a colostomy bag for the rest of their life because their bowel has to be partially amputated, or because that's a messy, messy area to get stabbed or gutted. Excuse my old lady cover, I drop my phone so often, or it gets knocked out of my hands, that this cover kind of has tried to save it a bit. The guy catching Adrian's leg, and this is why we have to drill into our students that snapback is important. Obviously, I'm not in the ring, and mistakes get made, but it's an important reminder that people can catch your leg if you are too slow. If you see the later kicks the earlier kicks by Seth and Natan, those kicks are fast and effective.
He was the attacker.
Being an attacker, you have a slight advantage in the fact that you somewhat know what's coming, you know what you're in for. But on the same token, I know how tough it is. And I take my hat off to all the attackers in this season and past seasons. Without the attackers, this series is impossible.
So nice to see the attackers being acknowledged. What I would like to see as a little pop-up on the screen, just like the main fighters get, is a little training history. You know, this guy, I mean, obviously they're trained martial artists. I'd love to know what's their specialty, how long they've been training. I've mentioned this in a previous video, but being attacked by a trained martial artist versus being attacked by a civilian are very different things, and you better hope you get attacked by a civilian. Generally, I think this is why there's so much emphasis on honor and self-respect and compassion and protecting others with martial arts, is because teaching martial arts to the wrong person will cause a lot of trouble down the line. So that's one of the reasons why character is such an important part of traditional martial arts and in our dojo. If we censor a psychopath or a narcissist, you won't last long here.
It can be a lost cause to fight against a knife attacker in a closed quarter, in a cage, in a jail cell, in a room. The odds of surviving this are very low, no matter how trained you are. I still believe that you can hit somebody hard enough for them to not be able to continue in attacking you with a knife.
I think this is why in Goju, we have such a big emphasis on developing your own power. Having that stopping power. I know there's the whole, finishing the fight in one blow thing. Fights really are that easy and that quick. But that being said, minimizing the amount of time you're fighting. And as you see, there are some of these attacks that would absolutely knock someone out. First kick to the head, first elbow to the face, hopefully. So that's why we have Makiwara as one of the ways to generate stopping power, bag work, all of these things. Fighting fresh air is easy. The more impact work you do, the better. And that's why we do impact work with kids. Firstly, it's less strain on their joints when they actually have something to make contact with. But also, we want them to get used to the idea of hitting something.
If it's a knife, you want to stay very far, at least 10 meters. We in law enforcement are trained to pull the gun as soon as we see a knife. The presentation time from picking the gun, the attacker, can surpass 7 meters in those seconds.
But Mr. X had advice.
There are 3 principles in knife defense. First off, you want to pin the arm. When you're very close, there's only cuts, there's no stabbing anymore. The most dangerous part of knives is to get stabbed. Second, wrist control. You want to control the wrist. And the third principle would be destroy the target. You will only survive if you're very aggressive and show no mercy.
But distance if you can, if not, pinning that arm and ensuring you get glancing blows rather than full-on stabs. Getting stabbed in the back, not great.
Mr. X agreed with Randy.
Actually, I don't believe that this is realistic of a knife attacker passing the knife, because even the knife attacker very stressed, is in adrenaline.
The hand switching thing is interesting. I've noticed in the dojo when we do knife drills with the rubber knife that people like to switch hands because they think they're in a movie. Whether people do that in a fight or not, I'm not sure. I'd love to find out. It's worth looking at a whole bunch of videos, but if I put knife fights into my YouTube algorithm, I don't know what's going to turn up, and maybe if I get put on some kind of list. Master Ken and his thighs of steel. Dude could crack coconuts with those thighs. Right, that's episode number 5. Let's get cracking on episode number 6.
I put 8 martial arts experts in car-related self-defense situations.
Get out of the gun! Get out of the gun! You like it? What's good?
So I only take Ubers. I kind of grew up in the generation where people don't really take taxis. I don't think I've ever been in a taxi before. One of the reasons being is because I don't like not being able to track where we're going, what we're doing. I'm not a fan of it.
I must have been in my early 20s and I took my car in for repairs and I needed to take a taxi to work. Now, this was back before smartphones were that smart. And I took a company in Joburg called Rose Taxis. And as I got into the car, I realized, click your pen, Zoe. But when I took this taxi and then I got to work safely, as I got out the car, I realized that hadn't told anyone where I was, who I was with, the license plate of this taxi, nothing. He could have taken me somewhere and no one would have known. There would be no tracking. So I am very grateful for that feature these days as a safety feature on Uber. And especially if I'm making sure my girlfriends get home safe, we can watch each other, share the audio, make sure someone's making sure they're safe.
Choosing where to sit was the first important decision that the contenders had to make, as different seats have different benefits and drawbacks. While the rear middle seat is statistically the safest for car crashes, for self-defense, the answer is different. Sitting behind the driver, like Seth, makes it harder for them to reach you, but it also limits your vision, as you can't see the driver's hands or phone as clearly. If you need to escape quickly, your exit door is also often closer to traffic, not the sidewalk. That can slow you down or make it more dangerous. And while being directly behind someone allows you to choke the driver, it limits your striking options. We will explore the benefits and downsides of the other seats as well.
I really like the car seat discussion, where to sit for safety. I hadn't even thought of that before, which is a great new insight into self-defense. I usually end up sitting behind the driver on either side of the back passenger seat. But now it's important to think about sitting in the one that they recommend is better for self-defense.
Gabby and I were in Malaysia. This is the only country when you order an Uber, it says don't order Ubers for other people.
Yeah, because they can't track it right.
It's like an indicator that Uber crimes are happening. It's just they have to bypass the system.
Yeah, I think the men have the luxury of it 99.9% of the time just being the money, drop the money and go. With South Africa, we've had a massive problem of false Uber or Lyft or Bolt drivers and who have kidnapped women and taken them to a secondary location or tried. Luckily, women have managed to open the door, roll out, or convince them otherwise, or pretend to be on the phone with their husbands. E-hailing safety is something we have to teach all people, but especially women and girls. There is such a market for a woman's only chauffeur service. I wish there was one. I'd feel better. Or the ability to, the problem is if you want to choose a female Uber driver and you're a man with bad intentions, that's not great either. So, I don't know. It's not an easy discussion or an easy system to make.
This time, they will be sitting in the driver's seat. Behind them, there will be a baby in a child's seat. And without the contenders knowing, in a few moments, a mugger with a knife will enter the car.
I get in the car and they're like, hey, there's a baby behind you. And I was like, of course there is. There's always a baby. Turn around, sure enough, baby buckled in. Do you always have to take care of these things? I don't have a child, but is this what it alwais feels like? I would sure hope not.
Yes, if they are ever present and they're that small, you can go nowhere without them unless you're very wealthy and can afford proper nannies. 95% of us, we take our toddlers everywhere, our babies everywhere. And those car seats are a pain in the ass. And there's a whole different video to be had about your safety, which is the right car seat. How do you install it? Where do you install it? And I know in some countries they don't even let you leave the hospital without them coming to the car and checking your car seat installation. Not so with me. They were like, here's a human being, bye. I was like, oh, okay.
Crime is sometimes described as a red light robbery. When you stop your car at the traffic light, a criminal opens the door, sits down in the passenger seat, and continues to rob the driver.
The red light robberies. Obviously, very common situation and often happens in South Africa. Like the number one thing is closed windows, locked doors all the time, no valuables on the side seat. In fact, women, often we put our handbags in the trunk so that there's nothing visible and when they walk past your car. At one stage, they were taking spark plugs and using them to break windows. So that's something to be concerned about. But this is why vigilance is so important. And I think one of the reasons opportunistic crime has gone up is that it feels like everyone and their mother is on their phone while they're waiting at the red robot. I'm like, do you have red robot? South Africans, we call traffic lights robots. It comes from when they were first introduced in South Africa and they were known as robot officers. And then we just dropped the officers and we call them robots. That is a barbet and felt like it needed to interrupt me. So, very, very standard basic safety things is vigilance, locked doors, locked windows. I never have my windows open.
To make things worse, situations where kids are involved happen as well. In this specific case, a crazy naked man tried to drive away with someone's car while kids were sitting in the back. But while the main mistake of the driver was stepping out of the vehicle to engage with the robber in the first place, in our scenario, the contenders are not given an opportunity to drive away.
Get out! Get out! Get out! Get out! Get out! Get the baby! Get out! Get the baby! One more second. One more second.
Those belt buckles and those car seats under duress can be an absolute nightmare. I know people who struggle, like when someone offers to belt in my kids, first with the firstborn and now with the toddler, people struggle with those things under no duress and with perfectly functioning hands. But when you are in huge adrenaline and you start losing your fine motor cohort, and now you've got the fear of a gun, I wouldn't want to unbuckle those car seats. Like, for example, our car seat is a 5-point harness, so that's a nightmare to get out fast. And now you've got a screaming baby, and it's a whole thing. So that is actually a proper nightmare scenario. You better hope that the driver would rather let you take the baby than them adding a kidnapping charge. There's been a couple of stories like that. There's actually a beautiful play called Tsotsi by Athol Fugard in South Africa about this exact situation. Fantastic movie, great read.
I've done car jitsu. I've actually competed inside of a vehicle, and actually being behind the seat, it's actually kind of hard to control somebody from there.
I love the idea of car jitsu. I think this is something we're going to start doing in the dojo, in the driveway, and what a situation to think about and to practice. The belt buckle, how you get over the middle console, the size of the car would affect it, little cars, big cars. These are all interesting scenarios to play out. Now, this is one of the things where I think size really does matter, because the bigger you are, the bulkier you are, the harder it is to move inside a small space like a car, and your agility, which is so important.
Get out, get out, get out, get out, get out, get out.
Going back to the red light robbery for cash, putting the baby aside for now, more people are going cashless, so everything is on cards or phones. So what's happening now with hijackers, it used to be they'd force you at gunpoint, go to the ATM, draw money. It's easier for them just to hold a gun to your head, make you log into your app, and transfer money using, we've got something called PayShop, which does 3,000 Rand without any verification. E-wallet, which I think goes up to 3,000 Rand, no verification. One of the banks I use, Discovery, has instituted a duress code. So if you put in that code, if you're under duress, they know to transfer the money for your safety, but that it is under duress, and then will automatically be reversed back into your account. So these are things to consider now that the phone is the bank.
But Adrian didn't even consider de-escalation as an option.
At the moment that I knew that there was a baby in the car, it changes something for me instantly. I knew straight away I wasn't going to get out of that car.
Speaking about family and risk, the car you choose, if you have the privilege of being able to choose your car rather than only what you can afford, the make and model is one of the ways to deter hijackers. For example, the most stolen cars in South Africa are the Hilux Bakkie, the Ford Ranger. These cars are very, very high-risk items. BMWs at one stage were very bad because they're much harder to steal once they've locked and parked, so they tend to steal them in motion. So one of the considerations for my car is I got a brand that is not a hijack risk. It's a super ugly mom car, but I love it. I love my van. If you can choose something, ideally something that's not locally made, because then the parts are not as valuable. And two, I think this is a particularly South African and maybe an American thing, because when I visited my family in Cyprus, I noticed everyone drove cars that were more than 5 years old. They don't care about cars as status. Driving a car for the sake of status, a visibly expensive car with visibly expensive watches, I mean, no one deserves to be attacked, but you can minimize your chances.
Now I need your car.
Yes. Yes, of course. Just one thing. Please don't hurt my baby.
What baby?
They grow up so fast.
Did anyone else get killer rabbit vibes from Monty Python and the Holy Grail with that baby? I'm sure that was inspiration for it. But that gave me a good cackle, I won't lie.
Road rage is a common thing. You face it every day. If you can drive away, avoid the confrontation. You don't know what the person has in his pockets. You don't know how many of them are in the car. I'm
very much of the apologetic smile, just let them go in front of you, wave them goodbye, don't antagonize. I know it's tempting. And I have certain family members who will not be named who want to antagonize everyone from taxi drivers to butts in their giant buckies. Leave them. You're not the police, you're not the sheriff. Yes, they're behaving badly, but honestly, it is not your place right now to deal with it, especially when I've got my kids in the car. Just let them go. You don't know, like there was a road rage incident many years ago. A guy took out a hockey stick and beat someone. And I'll try to find the article if I can. But things like that. It doesn't even have to be a gun. It could be physical altercation, dragging you out of your car. And for what? Because they cut you off and now you want to get involved. Just let them go. Like Mr. X says, this is ultimately the first and best line of defense.
Both Nathan and Gabriel made the best decision in this scenario. One aspect of it all surprised me.
Martial artist, Gabriel, super friendly person, super nice. Even still, he went for the gun in this situation. So far, my conclusion, when you have a gun, you just go for the gun. So I'm curious about the gun.
Yeah, Gabriel, I hate guns too. And if there was one in my car, so if you have a permit to use it, great. I like the guys who didn't get out the car but just showed the gun. I would have probably immediately reversed out of panic. But then again, you might not be able to reverse because there's a car behind you. So that's something else to consider. Luckily, the best response here was to reverse. There wasn't a car behind. I know I wouldn't know what to do with the gun. So I would rather just not have one. But if you know how to use it, power to you. If you do the regular training, the weapon you don't know how to use becomes your enemy's friend. And I think one stage, everyone in South Africa was buying guns because panic about crime. But I think too many people were getting those guns, doing one set of range training and then never training again. It's the same as any other self-defense. If you don't know when you're going to get called up and you are found wanting, the stakes are higher. So get a gun, sure, secure it, keep it safe, train with it, and then, wow, amazing weapon to have. Guns speak the ultimate language. But me personally, I wouldn't want one in my car or where my kids could find it.
Put it down. Put your fucking shirt back on. You look like an idiot. Your nipples are scaring me.
He's obviously got his nipples out with bad intention. Put those things away, then we can talk.
I wonder how much trouble you'd get into legally for pointing firearm at an unarmed person. I guess if you didn't discharge, you'd probably be fine, and if you could prove that your life was at risk. But if there's witnesses and they throw the baseball bat away and you don't lower the gun immediately, that could be a sticky issue. But don't know why bro is shirtless.
But before that, since the sun was out, the contenders decided to also take the guns out.
I love the thirst trap at the end, everyone being shirtless. The excitement that the sun's out, I'm guessing it was a bit cold and wet in Lithuania while they were filming. Overall, I really enjoyed these 2 episodes. I'm hoping to watch the last 2, if not this weekend. Try get a video out and to close the series off. If you're still watching to the end here, then you're one of the people it's quite invested in the channel. And I don't know if you've noticed that I've now privated and started. I privated all of our shorts. Turns out that YouTube was making creators like us, like me, push into shorts because shorts are ultimately YouTube's TikTok killer. And it actually really hurt my channel that I worked so hard on. I couldn't understand why, even though production quality improved and we're making the same kind of videos, why after doing shorts, my long form started suffering. We used to get a couple thousand views for a video right out the gate, and then now videos would crawl to get 1,000 views over the course of a week. So it's not an arrogance thing, but it is a statistics thing. So we now have a different channel, a separate channel called GRKC Shorts. Please go over and have a look and subscribe. We will be putting all the short form content there. It's not gone, it's just being moved. It takes a fair amount of time to do. We have 150 shorts, and I think I've uploaded about 30, maybe 40. So it will take some time to move that whole library across. I've left the 1 or 2 that went semi-viral on this channel. But overall, if you want to see our short form content, hop over there. Because what was happening with the short form, it was causing what's called a split audience. So the people who watch long form content are not necessarily the people that watch shorts. And shorts people definitely, 99% of the time, don't watch long form. They stay in the shorts feed. Why? Because it's the cheapest dopamine fire hose. Watch, scroll, scroll. So we were finding that, and then what happens, and this is what a bunch of bigger content creators have been telling and sounding the alarm on. Those people who watch your shorts maybe sometimes go into their long form feed. And then they see your video, they watch 10 seconds of it, it's not the same as your shorts, they skip. Sends a signal to the algorithm, this video sucks, stop pushing it out. So it's been very important for us to try and rebuild this channel back to where it was, because I would like it to help support my journey to go to Japan. So it's not a massive income stream. There are better ways to make money than YouTube. But I would like to at least be able to use this money to pay my own way to go to Japan and to hopefully grade end of 2026. Right, that's a little catch up from me. Thank you so much for watching to the end. I hope you enjoyed this series. Again, super stoked that there's going to be a ladies one. I'm going to tell some friends that they should maybe consider, especially the single ladies who don't have kids, who don't have commitments. I think that's one of the things that's going to change the dynamics of who can apply. For me to go for a week or 2 weeks, however long the filming takes, is a massive undertaking. I have to get so many people to film my place for what I do. Looking after the dojo, if it's during chimney season, that's when Shay and I have to run 2 businesses simultaneously, and that's a bit hectic. So I would love to be in one of those ex-martial arts rash guards, but let me not be arrogant. I'm sure there are much, much better and much stronger and younger and faster women who are better equipped than me. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I will see you soon. Arigato gozaimasu. Sayonara.